Dear living like a star, I don't even know where to begin. I guess I just need someone, anyone to hear me, to see me. Because right now, I feel invisible, I feel like I don't exist. And maybe if I pour these words onto the page, someone might finally understand what I'm too afraid to say out loud. I'm alone, always. Not just physically, but in a way that makes my chest ache, in a way that makes my thoughts feel too heavy to carry. I have no one to share my sadness with, no one to hold my pain, but maybe what hurts even more is that I have no one to share my joy with either. When something good happens, it just fades into nothingness because there's no one to say, I'm happy for you, no one to care. And if no one cares, does it even matter? Do I even matter? I watch people move through life with their people, friends, family, someone who knows them, loves them, sees them, and I wonder, why don't I have that? What is it about me that makes me so unworthy of connection? I try, I really do. But even when I'm surrounded by others, I still feel like a ghost. Like I don't belong, like I'll never belong. I just want someone to tell me I matter. That my existence means something, that I'm not just passing through this world unnoticed. I want to be understood, appreciated, validated. Instead, I feel like I'm screaming into an empty room waiting for an echo that never comes. The loneliness is crushing. It's making me anxious, making me afraid to even try anymore. And some days, I wonder, what's the point? If I disappeared, would anyone even notice? Would anything change? The thought scares me, but it's always there, whispering in the silence. In the spaces where connection should be. I don't know why I'm writing this. Maybe because I need to believe there's hope. That someone, somewhere will read this and say, I see you, you're not alone. Maybe that's what I need most of all, to be reminded that I exist, that I matter. Please, tell me there's a way out of this. Tell me that one day I won't feel this alone. Signed, someone who just wants to be seen.
Hi, and welcome back to Living Like a Star. Today we're diving into a topic that touches almost all of us at some point. Loneliness. Whether you're in a crowd of people or spending nights alone, loneliness doesn't discriminate. Remember that loneliness is very common. Almost everyone feels it at some point. But here's the thing. Loneliness is not a life sentence. It's a feeling, not a fact. And together we'll explore ways to understand and navigate it. Loneliness can be a hidden barrier to living like a star. Loneliness isn't just an emotion. It's a state of mind that can dim your light and hold you back from living life to its fullest. When loneliness lingers, it can create self-doubt, sap your motivation, and make you feel disconnected from the world around you. It whispers, you don't belong, or no one understands you, trapping you in a cycle of isolation. But here's the truth, you were meant to shine. Living like a star means embracing your worth, stepping into your power, and recognizing that connection, whether with yourself or others, is what fuels your inner light. Stars don't shine in solitude. They exist within constellations, each one contributing to a bigger, more brilliant picture. If loneliness is holding you back, it's time to challenge it. Acknowledge it. Recognizing your loneliness is the first step to breaking free from it. Take small steps. A simple conversation, a new hobby, or a moment of self-reflection can shift your mindset. Reach out. Whether to a friend, a community, or a counselor, connection is the antidote to loneliness. What is loneliness? Loneliness is the gap between the social connections you desire and the ones you feel you actually have. It's not simply about being alone. Many people enjoy solitude. It's about feeling unseen, unheard, and disconnected, even when surrounded by others. It's that aching sense of isolation that lingers, whispering that you don't quite belong, that no one truly understands you, or that your presence doesn't matter. And while it's a universal experience, it can feel intensely personal, like a cloud that only hovers over you while you think everyone else is not lonely. Loneliness is a paradox. You can be in a crowded room, among colleagues, classmates, or even friends, yet still feel profoundly alone. It's not the absence of people, but the absence of connection, the kind that makes you feel known, valued, and understood. It can creep in slowly or hit suddenly, triggered by a major life change, the loss of a loved one, or simply the quiet realization that no one has asked how you're really doing in a long time. What makes loneliness so painful is its illusion of exclusivity. It feels like a cloud that hovers only over you, while everyone else moves through life effortlessly, wrapped in warmth, friendships, and love. You scroll through social media and see smiling faces, inside jokes, and group outings that make you wonder, why not me? You watch couples, families, and close-knit groups interact as if they belong to a world you can't access. It convinces you that you are the only one feeling this way, even though in reality, loneliness touches almost everyone at some point. But loneliness is more than just a feeling. It's a signal. It's your mind and body telling you that you need meaningful connection, that you long to be understood, appreciated, and truly seen. And while it may feel overwhelming, it is not a life sentence. There are ways to bridge the gap between longing and connection, to transform loneliness from an unbearable weight into an opportunity for deeper self-awareness and ultimately genuine relationships. Why does loneliness happen? Loneliness doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It often stems from changes, losses, or unfulfilled emotional needs. At its core, loneliness is a signal, not a flaw. It tells us that something essential, connection, belonging, understanding, is missing from our lives. It can happen for many reasons, both external and internal. Externally, life transitions can shake up our sense of security and connection. Moving to a new place, starting a new job or school, the loss of a relationship, or even growing apart from friends can all leave us feeling disconnected and adrift. Social media can also play a role as we constantly compare our lives to carefully curated versions of others, making it seem like everyone else is surrounded by love and laughter while we remain on the outside looking in. Internally, loneliness can be tied to self-perception. If we feel unworthy, different, or misunderstood, we may withdraw, even when opportunities for connection exist. Anxiety and self-doubt can make it harder to reach out, leaving us caught in a cycle where isolation reinforces feelings of not belonging. When does loneliness happen? Loneliness doesn't follow a schedule. It can creep in slowly or strike unexpectedly. It often emerges in moments of transition or uncertainty, such as moving to a new city or starting a new chapter in life, experiencing a breakup, divorce, or loss of a loved one, being in a long-distance relationship or separated from close friends, feeling different from those around you, whether in values, experiences, or personality, struggling with self-esteem or fearing rejection, or seeing others appear happy and connected while feeling left out. But loneliness isn't always tied to big life events. It can also happen in small, quiet moments. Watching a movie alone with no one to share your thoughts with, sitting in a room full of people who don't truly see you, or celebrating an achievement with no one to cheer you on. The key to overcoming loneliness is recognizing it for what it is, a signal of unmet emotional needs rather than a permanent state of being. Just as hunger reminds us to eat, loneliness reminds us that we need connection, real, meaningful connection. And while it may feel all-consuming at times, it is something that can change, especially when we take small steps toward reaching out, opening up, and allowing ourselves to be seen. How dangerous is loneliness? Loneliness is often seen as just an emotion, but its effects go far deeper. It's not just about feeling alone. It can be a silent, chronic stressor that impacts both mental and physical health in profound ways. When left unchecked, loneliness can become more than a passing feeling. It can turn into a state of suffering that shapes the way we see ourselves and the world around us. How does loneliness affect you? Loneliness has a way of changing the way you think, feel, and behave. It can make you feel unloved and unwanted. A persistent sense that you don't truly matter to anyone. You may doubt yourself socially, believing others wouldn't want your company. You might start to think that your loneliness is your fault, reinforcing self-criticism. You become self-conscious and anxious in social situations, convinced that there is something wrong with you, making it even harder to connect. You might feel resentment or anger toward others. Loneliness can turn outward, making it easy to assume others are rejecting you, even when they aren't. These feelings create a cycle. Low self-esteem leads to social withdrawal, which deepens loneliness, making it even harder to reach out. Over time, this can lead to avoiding social interactions. You might feel convinced that people don't want you around, leading to self-isolation. You may have difficulty asserting yourself. Saying no feels impossible when you fear pushing people further away. You might feel exploited. A deep sense of loneliness can make you more vulnerable to being taken advantage of, simply because you don't want to risk losing any connection at all. Loneliness doesn't just live in your mind, it takes a toll on your body too. Studies show that chronic loneliness raises stress levels. It increases cortisol, the stress hormone, which can lead to high blood pressure and heart disease. It weakens the immune system, making you more susceptible to illness. It disrupts sleep. Loneliness can lead to restless nights, further impacting mood and energy. It increases the risk of mental health struggles. Long-term loneliness is linked to anxiety, depression, and even cognitive decline over time. In many ways, our bodies react to loneliness the same way they would to physical danger. It's as if our nervous system is sending out distress signals, reminding us that as social beings, connection is as crucial to our well-being as food and water. While loneliness can feel overwhelming, it's not permanent. Because it's tied to how we perceive our connections, there are ways to actively shift our mindset and take steps toward meaningful relationships. The key is recognizing loneliness as a signal rather than an identity. It's not who you are, but rather what you're experiencing. Through awareness, small steps toward connection, and self-compassion, loneliness can be transformed from an isolating force into a guiding signal, one that reminds us of our need for belonging, understanding, and human connection. Here's the good news. Because loneliness is tied to how we perceive our connections, it's something we can actively work on. How do we tackle loneliness? Let's break it down into two essential steps: awareness and action. 1. Awareness. The first step in overcoming loneliness is awareness. Understanding when and why you feel lonely. Start by recognizing your feelings without judgment. Ask yourself, when do I feel the loneliest? What situations or thoughts trigger these feelings? Write it down. Awareness is the first step towards change. Write down your observations. Simply acknowledging these patterns can help you gain clarity. Next, what do you normally do in these situations? Reflect on how you typically respond in these moments. Do you avoid these situations? If so, ask yourself why. Ask yourself, why do you avoid? these situations? Is it that you are unable to bear the discomforting feelings and thoughts that arise from these situations? What if you braved them and faced these situations? Would something shift? Growth begins when we allow ourselves to explore discomfort rather than running from it. 2. Action. Taking small intentional steps. Once you have awareness, the next step is action. Change doesn't have to be overwhelming. Sometimes the smallest actions can create the biggest shifts. Consider trying one of these. Smile at a neighbor. A simple gesture of warmth can spark a sense of connection. Join an online community. Find a group that aligns with your interests. It could be a book club, a support group, or a hobby forum. Seek out opportunities to meet new people who share your interests. Join a club, take up a hobby, or volunteer. Choose activities that genuinely excite you rather than ones you force yourself into. Take initiative. Don't wait for others to approach you. Start small. Talk to the person sitting next to you in class, at lunch, or during breaks at work. A simple hello or a smile can open the door to conversation. Say hello or even just smile at people you pass on the staircase or elsewhere in college or in your workplace. Step into new social situations at a comfortable pace. The key is balance. Don't overload your schedule just to avoid being alone. These actions don't have to be grand. They just need to open a door. Now pause and immediately pay close attention to any thoughts or feelings that are arising in you, even with their suggestions. Do any fears, doubts, or resistance arise? Jot them down. By doing this, your self-awareness will deepen and you will slowly uncover underlying dominating emotions that might be holding you back from taking positive actions. To make meaningful connections. True connection starts with vulnerability. Reach out to someone you trust and share how you're feeling. You might be surprised at how many people can relate. Overcoming loneliness isn't just about surrounding yourself with people. It's also about learning to enjoy your own company and making your alone time meaningful. Connection comes in two forms, with others and with yourself. Being alone doesn't have to mean feeling lonely. Use your alone time to engage in activities that nourish you. Reading, journaling, creative projects, or even taking a peaceful walk. Shift your perspective. Instead of seeing solitude as something to escape, see it as an opportunity to reconnect with yourself. As you take these steps, pay attention to your thoughts and emotions. Do you feel resistance, fear, or self-doubt? What's stopping you from taking action? Write it down. This process helps you recognize patterns and understand what might be holding you back from deeper connections. By doing this, your self-awareness will improve and you will slowly discover what feelings and thoughts are entrapping you. Why am I repeating myself with this instruction? It's because discovering your dominating feeling and thought that has become your life stumbling block is the first major step to self-understanding and breaking free. Once you discover it, only then you can put yourself to work on this dominating feeling, removing the blockage and setting yourself free to reach out and build bridges. Now, immediately take note of any thoughts or feelings that arise in you with what I've just said. Jot them down and note areas to work on. Discover your hidden thoughts and feelings that have become a disservice in your life. You might be surprised to discover how you may even be sabotaging your own life, causing you to be lonely. Stop the self-deprivation. Do not deprive yourself of things you would like to do just because you have nobody to do them with, like going to a concert or for a walk or seeing a film. Stop being critical of your efforts. Remind yourself that intimate friendships take time to develop. Do not disparage friendships in the belief that only romantic relationships will relieve your loneliness or give you confidence and social status. Be a good friend to others. Build relationships by being a good friend to others. Immediately take note of any thoughts or feelings that may be arising. Are you afraid to be rejected? Is this fear holding you back? Respond to others and their interests, but do not feign an interest you do not feel. Remember their birthdays and, importantly, recognize their fears. Become aware of the dominant feeling and dominant thoughts that rule your life, and become aware of how these influence actions that you take and behaviors that you make. Remember, loneliness thrives in silence. But the moment you speak about it, reach out, or take even the smallest step, you begin to break its power. Feeling lonely doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. And as humans, we're wired for connection. Loneliness dims your spark, but action reignites it. You have a light inside you that's waiting to shine. Don't let loneliness keep it hidden. Keep moving forward, keep reaching out, and keep living like the star you are. If this episode resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Let's build a community that supports and uplifts each other. If you have identified any dominating feeling or thoughts that have become a stumbling block in your life, keep tuning in to Living Like a Star. Future episodes will be covering on how to manage these dominating emotions. Remember, together, we're never alone. Until next time, keep shining like the star you are. If you're feeling overwhelmingly lonely or struggling with your emotions, consider speaking with a qualified UK BACP registered counsellor. Visit globalonlinecounselor.com for support and guidance. Don't suffer loneliness alone.